As ever, we have Anne Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello. Good morning, afternoon, evening.
Yes, it is that because we're everywhere in the world. So I don't know what time it is when people listen. So it doesn't really matter what we say. It's fine. Except for good evening, good night. Good night sounds like goodbye.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. It's like, welcome, hello, good to see
yes.
everybody. It's, yeah.
So I've stopped saying that one because the good night is goodbye. So it's yes, good evening. That's fine. Right, so we are today looking at more sensory health things. I'll say this at the start and the end. If you've got any issues you've seen in the news, whether you've got any topical issues in your own family or people around you, and you think, I just don't know how to process this, that is the whole point of this session. So we talk about all sorts of things. If you want to send your questions, the best way of doing that is this. Email them to me here in the studio, hello@pure247radio.org, hello@pure247radio.org, and I will put your questions to Anne. Now, I've just dropped my pen. I have to have a pen in my hand to play with. It's like a fidget spinner.
I was going to say that's otherwise known as a fidget toy in my world.
Always have a pen, but you can't click it because it makes bad noises, so that's not great.
No.
But yeah, I always have a pen. Or I've got some Velcro, which is so worn it doesn't make a noise anymore, which I quite frequently play.
Oh, that's a really good one.
So it sort of sticks, but it so badly sticks it makes no noise. So it's a great one to play with.
Super.
Because I can wrap it around my finger. And I've got one little thing that somebody gave me when I was in the hospital about 2 years ago. And it's actually supposed to go on top of a bag of crisps so you can seal it. It's like a clasp thing, but it's a carrot picture, which I quite like. So it's basically a carrot with a clasp. So you can clasp your crisps with a carrot. I quite like it. But that makes it click. But if you're really careful, you can do it silently.
I was going to say sensory healthy tips with Andy B.
Yes, not always advisable, but hey, we get away with it. Right. So we have touched. I'm trying to think how many we've done of these since we started last September, but we have touched on so many issues. And one of the things I just wanted to flag up was, I think a lot of people would say sensory issues. Oh, that's a children's issue. That's an autism issue, and we can we pigeonhole, don't we? What in order for us to understand it, we stick it in a little box. And we can put a little tick and a little description on it. But in the last 2 weeks, what are the sort of different ranges of people and ages and problems that you've had, that people come to you with?
Yeah. And across the board, totally across the board. From someone in the prison service and mental health to, I haven't had many older folk the last couple of weeks. But whether it's schools, certainly adults, because it's coming into neurodiversity week, that there's lots of adults that are coming and saying, explaining that they really need support at work, and what can they do about it. And then we have the little toddlers, even some of the babies actually who are not enjoying tummy time. So it's different positions that we can put them in to help them get that, what we call prone extension, get more input into their vestibular systems, because tummy time is really crucial for their development. So right from the littlies through to schools, I'm still working my way around all the schools, helping them understand the sensory super system for schools, how to apply it, how to tweak things and change things and help the children perform to their ability in schools, and chatting to our homeschoolers and our adults too. And mental health there's been a couple in the last couple of weeks, really looking at mental health and anxiety again. But that will always be there. So.
But it's a big range, isn't it? Sensory isn't, you can't just stick it in a little box and say it's a problem for a child with autism. I mean, that is such a ridiculously irresponsible oversimplification actually of what sensory health is about.
Yeah, and I mean, it does make it hard when people talk about marketing. It's just like, find your avatar, find your niche. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but like, I'm in the area of sensory processing. But I am kind of, I don't know if it's stubbornly refusing, but I am refusing because I just think all of us, anybody who has any sensory issues, I would love to help and support, because what I do and how I do it is for all ages and all stages. So I might be shooting myself in the foot, but I'm quite happy to do that because I don't want to block that off. I just need people to know that, yes, I can absolutely help their child. Yes, I can absolutely help them if they're an adult and they're struggling, or they know they've got sensory issues, but they don't know what to do about it. We've got, various people at different stages, whether some people are completely clueless. They know they're struggling with something, but they don't realize it's a sensory issue. Then we've got many of our adults who recognize there's a sensory issue, but don't actually know what to do about it. And then some are given some little nuggets, or they get it from Facebook, YouTube, whatever. But then it's like, how do I apply it to me? How long do I need to do this for? What do I need to do? When do I need to do it? Yeah, all of those nuances. So I love to speak to folks in any point in their sensory journey, really.
I remember a very similar, totally different, not the same thing, but similar idea of, I was at this business networking event years and years ago. We had a shop, and someone said, "Oh, come along, maybe it'll be useful for you." And everybody goes around the room and they say what their niche is and who they want as a customer. Does anybody know any 18 to 20 customers who want a mobile phone? Or we're trying to reach business guys who it's men who have a van they want it replacing. That's who we're after. It was very, very specific little niches. And I'm one of the last people, because I was just a guest that day. And I really struggle thinking I sell in my shop stuff for every single person on this planet, irrespective of age, background. And I actually said, I can't give you a nice little bracket. I'm after everybody, because everything we sell applies to everybody. So I can't narrow it down. So I definitely get that issue. And a few people kind of looked at me like, that's not what you're supposed to do. But I couldn't have said I want mums with 2 children, or a dad who runs a company and wants eco-friendly stuff, because, well, they're both just as applicable and they all walk through the door. So this is my thing, how do you then so define something that you kind of end up excluding everybody else, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's trying to flip it. A few use all your eco stuff. So it's kind of like, how do we go down the eco and then trust that people will find, the specifics of the people will find, because the product is what is important. So for me, it's the product and the understanding and the training and the assessing and the managing and sorting life out from a sensory perspective. It's like, that's, if I focus on that, and then I trust that the folks who will connect with that, for whom that will really meet a need and be an answer to prayer, then I'm here for them.
Awesome. Right. We'll move on to some question I've got from your side of things. But having just been on a trip with a plane and a bus and a ferry, I did think about your trip when you went to America on a business trip, and some of the things you learned and tried to apply and whatever. But there are a couple of things that got to me. One, early mornings are really hard and make processing anything difficult, because we had to get a ferry and a flight, which both required a 3:45 a.m. beginning. That is very, very early, and it wrecks with everything. So from a sensory perspective, Joe and I, we had a coffee, we're sort of awake, 4 a.m. in the morning. By 10 a.m., we're thinking, why haven't we had lunch yet? Because everything is so confused. It feels like jet lag, although it's not. But I did try and apply some of the sensory things. So we forgot to take eye patches, which we were going to try and have some, darkness over our eyes. But I did on the ferry. I was quite chuffed. I thought, oh, dark space. Dark is good for sensory health. So I got my hoodie over the back of a big, it's like a wingback thing on the ferry. And I managed to get the hood of the hoodie over my face. So it was dark. And I had like 5 minutes of just idyllic silence, because there was no one in the room, and it was just beautiful, just because everything was crazy, because you get on the ferry and you got bright lights, you got people shouting at you and all the clanking, and you got the whirring. I just wanted something where I was silent. So it was a real quiet moment, and I just put the hood over my face. It was like, oh, okay, life. And only 5 minutes is all I needed.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right. Okay, so what are the most common signs of sensory processing challenges in children, and how can parents or grandparents identify them early on?
Okay. Great question. I think when we are looking at children, there are downloads actually in the AnneLaureJackson.com website. I break down what things might look like from a sensory perspective if you have a baby, if you have a toddler, if you have a preschooler, if you have a school-age child, and then if you're going into adolescence and into adulthood. So if anybody wants more of a specific breakdown in each of those ages, then that's probably AnneLaureJackson.com is a good place to go. But other than that, there are we look for clusters, which is groups of things, because you might have somebody who's a picky eater, but that might be all they are. Okay, that in itself can just be a sensory processing issue, but we would normally look, if they're a picky eater, They might not like tags in their clothes or seams in their socks. They might be fussy about the kind of clothing that they wear. They might be fussy about the temperature. So we would normally look at a few things like, troubles getting their hair cut, getting their teeth brushed. Those are kind of clusters of behaviors. So that's one aspect for children. Definitely, if your child is clumsy, get in touch, because there may be a pure physical reason, like some actual damage to the nerves or the muscles or the joints or parts of the brain. But if there's no obvious damage and they're still a bit clumsy and uncoordinated and they bump into door frames and bump into tables and they don't feel the pain even, then it's definitely worth getting that checked out. So normally it's those who are a bit unaware of life and a bit kind of miss things a bit and a bit more clumsy. They don't ride their bike on time. That's another good one. Or they don't get dressed at the same time as most others do. I think it's gut instinct for the parents mostly, that they know something is a little bit different, and it's worth getting it checked out. One of the myths that I love to dispel is they won't necessarily grow out of this, and they probably won't. So if somebody says, "Oh, they'll just grow out of it," do you really want to wait? It really isn't worth waiting. If we can get in earlier, everything is so much easier. And the child is always so much more compliant and easier to work with when they are younger, because you give them something that you know that their body needs. They get it. And then they have a thirst for life and a drive for life that comes out of that. And as soon as we get it in, the sooner the brain has to heal and to grow and to make itself better. So.
I'm thinking conversely as well, we need to be really careful when we make a judgment on a situation we see. There was on the ferry, there was a child that was screaming. Now, I could have jumped to, that's a sensory health issue. The child is screaming, therefore they can't cope with light. That would be a huge, very daft way of looking at it, because I never met the child, never saw the child. I just heard a scream and it was very bright and there's lots of noises. But I could jump to, it must be a light issue because I've got a little bit of knowledge, and a little bit of knowledge can be quite dangerous. Mm-hmm. So how do we help people perhaps who we don't know quite so well? So let's go one step away from the parent. Let's talk about a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, or even a younger sibling perhaps. How do we help them to step in? Because you said about a parent, maybe you spot something, but just one step away from that. So a grandparent, uncle, even a younger or even older sibling. How do we help them best to be able to assess the same situation and then helpfully engage with the parent, which we would need to do in order to say, let's get some help?
Yeah. There are certainly, the videos on YouTube. I'm trying to put out as much content as I can to help people give an extra awareness, because it's often easy to say, have you seen this video or have you seen this blog? There's a new on the AnneLaureJackson.com website. I know I'm saying a lot, but there's a lot of useful resources there at the moment, and hopefully will grow. But there are blogs specifically for grandparents, for other people who might have a sense but aren't sure. And it's a nice way of subtly having a look at something. And then you can either share that page, or you have to have the right kind of relationship, because otherwise, yes, you are going to be seen as the nosy grandparent, as the unkind, as the do you think I'm parenting badly type. So the way that you approach it is key. But if it's out of a heart of love and just asking them a question of, would you appreciate any more a different view on this, or are you happy that you understand exactly what's going on with your child? So it's trying to, I wonder, would it be interesting to look at having someone else's opinion on things, just trying to use language in a gentle way. And some people would even balk at those kind of languages, but others, would find you saying those kind of words better than saying, look, you really need to get this seen to, and, you can go to this girl here. Just be careful how you approach things. But if you have that sense, that inner knowing that you're really not quite sure, then go to the YouTube site, go and have a look at some blogs, find the books. I've just started putting it, if anybody is actually watching, there's raising a sensory child with ease, whether that's for as a grandparent or otherwise, there's trying to find and fulfill, get resources out there for people to be able to be a bit more empowered. If they want further help, they're there, they can come in. But for now, it's just recognize that, it's you're not a bad parent, you're not a grandparent, you're not a bad auntie or an uncle that hopefully, if you can work together and talk together, there can be a really lovely support network around, say, for example, your daughter, if she's the mum of a child that you think is a little bit different. If you have that communication, it's brilliant because you can all come in as a family. The logins and the licenses that I have can be completely family based. So if there's mum who would really appreciate, the granny support, then we can do family logins, and everybody gets the same access. So everybody's learning the same things. So you can start to speak the same language. Same way that schools, it's really important that schools have that communication with parents as well. The more people we can get communicating, thinking the same, talking the same language, even if it's recognizing at the end of the day, once an assessment has been done, that it's really not a sensory issue, that is just as good as finding out, all right, okay, we do need to tackle this, and this is how we can do it. But yeah, go and explore some of the resources. If you're in any way, not sure, I think it's always better to get things checked out. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things you said, which was really key, I guess, really is asking questions rather than saying, yeah, you're a rubbish parent. Your child just did this. They've got problems. That's never, ever going to be received well, regardless of the relationship. But actually asking a question, oh, I noticed your child was struggling. Can I offer you any support? Is there anything we can do to help you? Or, can I pray for you? It's a simple one. But if we actually come with an open question, but the other side of that is if we're not careful and we think, oh, we don't want to offend anybody ever, and we never say anything, you can end up with struggling parents who just don't know where to turn. And, it can be really hard. And in a society where, my way is my way, actually that's not beneficial for society or us personally. Yeah. So having the confidence to graciously and compassionately say to somebody, can I help? Can I offer you some support in some way? Yes, they may well take that the wrong way, but what if they take it the right way? And actually it's worth trying to show compassion and help, because the other thing I was thinking about is how some children can respond differently to different people. Basic personality issue. There are people I've met who I really don't like, and there's no reason that, they're not bad people. I just don't get on with them. And there are others, conversely, who I got on really well with. And with some children, that's even more of a thing, because there's an adult that for some reason they just love. I was doing a story time in a toddler group. I'm a professional. I'm paid. You don't go around picking up kids. I sat down for this story time. All the mums were there, pretty much all mums. And this one little children, as soon as I got the book out, just came along, sat on my knee. So I carried on, and all the mums were like, oh, isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
And those opportunities that provide, I see afterwards, he misses his dad because his dad's working away. So bloke, beard, just like dad. He was a white guy. I'm a white guy. He has glasses. I have glasses. I've got a storybook. Oh, story time. And he just sat on my lap. But those opportunities, when they do come along, I could have just pushed the kid away and thinking, oh, no. Safeguarding risk, shouldn't be doing this. Safeguarding assessment. There's like 30 mums with their kids. I think I'm good, So we can make these general assessments. But actually, when those opportunities present themselves, there are going to be people who will more easily talk to us or open up to us or want to sit with us. And those are the ones where, okay, how can we help you? How can we support you?
Yeah. And it's lovely to be able to say, look, if you don't want me to say, that's okay. And if I can say something once, but if you don't want me to say anything again, it's almost like just getting permission first before. Also, that's a way of reducing people's barriers to then being told, because none of us, in a way, like to be asked, are you doing it the best way you possibly can? Even though these children's behaviours can be really difficult, it's still hard to admit. Asking permission if it's okay to say something, and really not volunteering if they say no, but offering if you can, for sure. And that's why I find it in the home education network, that is the hardest thing, to be honest, because we are so used to accepting our children for who they are, that we've gone past the stage of really recognizing that a little support could make a big difference to them now and them in the future. So yeah, definitely do go and explore, YouTube, go and read a little bit more. if you think there's something, I know most people also don't have the capacity. That's the hardest thing. But if you go to the website, you'll just get it there straight in front of you, 5 minutes, and you'll have a checklist of stuff. And we are working on a screening tool. Actually, I'm not sure if I've said that before. Trying to get an online kind of like screen your child, that you just literally work through some questions, and you'll get answers as to whether it's worth looking into, whether it's just worth keeping an eye on, but just see which way it goes, or whether there's a definite, look, you really need to, I can really help you here. We can change life around. We can make life a lot less frustrating and annoying and confusing. And we can just give you some peace back into your family life. And then, of course, there's, others who will say, you've got no identified sensory issues at all. So hopefully that will be confirming and affirming.
So I suppose, in a sense, if we think we are spotting something, there's a few things. One, have we got the right to speak into that person's life? You're in a supermarket, child's misbehaving, your child is this, you're bad. We have no right to say that in that context, because it's not going to be received. It's a complete waste. Even if we are professional, we can't act that way. So having the opportunity means we need to have the right to speak. And also just taking a step back as well, because if we see a problem, it doesn't matter if we answer, we do something in the next 24 hours. Let's just take a pause. Let's take a step and think: is this behaviour that's normal? Don't talk around the family. Oh, what do you think about their parenting? Because if somebody is struggling and they don't know it, then they are going to be so easily ostracised by, I'm struggling, people are now talking about me, and that's just going to compound everything, isn't it?
That's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing to think. Yeah. No, nobody wants to feel inadequate. We kind of know before God that it's in His strength that we can do so many things. But on the other side of it, if people just point out the humanness and our humanity, it's just like, ow, that hurts. So let's not do that. Let's support and acknowledge that we're all human in this, but we all need love and care and nurture, which is God's way of doing it, and bringing us up higher.
I have a thought from my Jojo, who talks about when you want to talk to somebody and there's something not great about them that you need to confront in a sort of professional capacity. One of the things that she was always taught to do is you don't say you're clumsy, because you've just assassinated this person. You've just said you are clumsy. But if you say, oh, I noticed that you were struggling with this, can I help you? Or perhaps in the context of a child, or our children are playing together, or I noticed your child kept on walking into the walls or hurting the tables. Is there anything I can do to help your child in my home? Do I need to put more things on the walls, or do they need more spaces? And actually that is then engaging in a conversation that is open for further conversation and possibly support. That's
lovely. Yeah. That's really lovely. Identifying what just happened. Oh, the cup got dropped off the table again. And it's just like, well, do we need to see, would it be better with a bit of extra colour at the end of the table, or do we need to put some extra things on to protect it? Do you think it might happen again? And asking the individual themselves what kind of things might help if they know. Obviously, if they're young, they probably won't, and you need to think and try and put two and two together. But having that conversation is a lovely thing.
And not around a failing or a fault, which is immediately accused. It's like, that's an accusation, isn't it? Your child dropped my cup. Where's that going to go? That's not going to end well. But actually, I noticed your child was struggling to hold a cup. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Is there something better we can do for them? Because then, rather than accusatory, condemnation, you're actually saying, how can we support you? And once you're supporting somebody, maybe they'll open about other issues of support. And it's being vulnerable. And I think being vulnerable as well. It's rather than saying, yeah, I'm great, you're wrong. Again, I struggle with this sometimes. Is there something? Because then you're not putting on the back foot, are you? You actually engage in a conversation where you're talking with a person rather than to a person or at a person.
It's lovely. So much is about those subtleties, and that can be hard if we are talking to someone who doesn't have those same subtleties, which is harder. But we should be. All we can do is be in control of our own way of being. We can't control, especially if someone is on the autistic spectrum, their way of relating can be very direct, but not meaning to be, not meaning to be harsh, not meaning to be cruel, not meaning to be anything. They just say it as it is. And we need to be able to take control of our own responses and not be influenced by others where we can. But that takes an awful lot of maturity and the gift of self-control, really. But that's something that we all, it's good to develop, because it is only for good. So
we refer back to the fruit of the Spirit fairly frequently in different ways, don't we?
It's like, how foundational to life could it be? Yeah.
The fruit of the Spirit, if we're not quite sure what we're talking about, it's a little piece of the Bible, and it talks about these really good attributes that are really, really healthy for us to have. For example, self-control, goodness, love. There's three. If we could just do those three, there's a whole bunch of them. But if we could just exercise those three, a bit of self-control, that child's really annoying me. Okay, let's take a step back. Rather than, oh, yeah, that's irritating. Yeah, let's just self-control, a bit of love, a bit of goodness, a bit of compassion. And all of a sudden we've changed something from something really bad to potentially something good. No, we refer to that quite a bit, but I think it's relevant now, isn't it?
And always will be. And it's always good to be reminded, daily, weekly, monthly, however often, just keep having that mindset, taking captive those thoughts and trying to think, how can I show more of these fruits of the Spirit, which are just lovely.
Galatians chapter 5, I believe. Is that right?
I believe.
That sounds about right. Google the fruit of the Spirit in the Bible and you'll find a list of fruit. One little note for them. It's not fruits, it's fruit. They all form one part. So you can't just be all self-controlled, because they all interlink and interlock with each other. So it's one fruit that contains little parts. So you've got Andy B addendum there.
I like that.
Right. We'll be back for more next week. If you've got any more questions off this, anything this has made you think, oh, do you know what? I've actually spotted this. We always keep it anonymous, so you can use details as much as you like. We will anonymize it for you. And if you've got some real case stories of, this is in my life, I'm a grandparent, I'm struggling with this, we'll anonymize it. We can talk about it and you'll find out what's going on. And maybe you'll get some help as well. Anne Laure Jackson website is brilliant. If you want to get there really quickly and easily from us, go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ. And that will take you to a page all about Anne Laure Jackson and link to her pages and stuff like that. And also, if you want to get in touch with any questions, email us. Email link is at the bottom of our website. Anne, thank you. I love we don't script these. This is very much, it's all reactive, which is great, because it's just, what have we got? Let's go from there.
Yeah. And I love this. I'm just so honoured, so glad, so happy to be here. Thank you.
So if you've got any questions for Anne, let us know. But apart from that, you can catch this later on video on our YouTube channel or on podcast as well. Just search for Pure 247 Radio wherever you are trying to find them. And thank you. And we're back for more next week.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Pure 24/7 Radio is listener supported, which means we are free, online and always pure because of the generous support of our listeners. If you would like to contribute financially, please visit pure247radio.org. If you'd like to find out how we use your money, please visit the Our Cost section. Any donation of any size will help keep us on air and broadcasting for free. Thank you.